Fembo87. Or you can call me Ruby with a fucking penis. I'm kidding. That is a shitty claim to make, and you should never make claims like that. You will get your ass handed to you. So this is Trick and Treat. It's a free anime game online, and I'm very anxious to see how it plays out. And I know nothing about this. So, fuck it. Let's get into it. Now, the one thing I've heard negative about it, I've saw a lot of positive reviews, but the one negative I saw is that apparently it's not the best job in translating to English, which, we'll see. I can probably get over it and forgive it, because it's never easy to translate anything from something to English. Okay, Trick and Treat. Let's start. What is this music? Where have I heard this from? Hope it ain't copyrighted. Alright, let me see if there's anything I should set up. Transitions. What the hell? Okay, cool. Alright. Sorry, my little time thing was blocking it. But oh well. Let's jump right into this shit and find out what we're getting ourselves into. Trick and treat, everybody. Let's go. So I have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. Is it a horror game, or... The sound of our steps, combined with that of the occasional nocturnal animals, is the only thing we can hear. It's terribly dark in this place. The dense vegetation makes it impossible to see the sky or light from the moon. Our flashlights are the only things that light up the way. At times like this, one begs to not run out of battery. That's some amazing dialogue. We walk without knowing what we are really looking for, or better said, for no reason. I can see why they said it was weirdly translated, but oh well, it actually kind of makes it interesting. We are just a group of boys, bored with our lives, trying to create a lasting memory of this night, instead of just staying home doing nothing. Nothing. Today is October 31st, All Hallows Eve, better known as Halloween. What the fuck is Hallows? I'm kidding. 3 young men walk through a dark, but up until now, nothing special, forest. Me being one of them. Oh, I get it. Walked through a dark, but up until now, nothing special, forest. Me being one of them. We are doing it to prove our courage. It's too bad there isn't a girl here to see how brave we are. Or how scared we are, so that she can giggle and stuff when we get the shit scared out of us. Everyone loves that feeling. Please keep watching. Nah. Seeing it like that, one could say this is a meaningless effort. For a moment, I stopped to look at my watch. Holy shit, it's 1:49 a.m. That means we have been walking aimlessly for more than 2 hours now. I'm sure that many people would find a place like this terrifying. But once you get used to it, the fear disappears, making it feel like normal. What makes us afraid of the dark is that we cannot know what hides in it, what lurks in the shadows. But this is clearly an empty darkness. At the moment, I sigh, feeling tired. My legs are... What is the point of being here? Clearly we had already demonstrated what we wanted. It would be best to return. I should tell them. I was about to speak when suddenly an atmosphere in the forest becomes strange. Suddenly, like a cold chill runs through my body. It was like any other chill, except it was not going away. For no reason, the air's temperature dropped from 1 second to another. Yeah, so much. My breath becomes visible, turning into mist. It doesn't end there. The air is now filled with a rotten smell, just a little short from being unbearable. Images of worms and flies soon appear in my mind, giving me a really unpleasant feeling. We all stop at the moment. What's happening? I asked, confused, while turning to look at my friends. But the expressions on their faces, it was easy to know that they were just as lost as I was. It was that we heard footsteps nearby, and it did not come from any of us. We all got dead quiet after that. I don't know if it was out of fear or to check if it was not a mistake, but we stayed motionless, like statues, without making a noise. Just looking at each other's faces, wondering the same thing. What was happening? As if I could know. We heard the steps again. They clearly belonged to a human, or at least to a large animal, but there's something strange about them. It sounds as if the person walked dragging one foot. Just thinking about it made me shiver. Damn! What is this? Why is this happening? It makes no sense. We should have returned home before, but now it's too late to regret it. We have the feeling that we are being stalked by someone. The strange footsteps stopped, but I'm still feeling the presence nearby. I don't know where it is, but I know that it's looking at me. The cursed thing is looking at me. My heart is beating anxiously. It's almost as if my body was telling me to get out of there. But strangely, my friends seemed unable to perceive it. It seems that it's gone. It must have been just an animal. Said one of them, convinced that we were safe. I would like to believe that too. We had a sigh of relief. However, bad luck would soon strike us again. Unexpectedly, the forest becomes darker than before, just in the blink of an eye. But that wasn't the fault of the forest, but of our flashlights, which went out. Of the three, only one, mine, was still working. What's going on? Did the batteries die? Asked one of them, scared. While they both beat them desperately, as if that was going to revive them. I can't blame them. The idea of walking in the darkness was not pleasant for anyone. But after a few moments, we had no choice but to resign ourselves to that. Once more, the sound of our footsteps is heard. But the silence is different now. We are not quite quiet because we have nothing to say, because we are afraid. We continue walking despite the fear that invades us. Visibly is almost zero, but we have no choice. In theory, we were walking back, looking for the exit, but I cannot remember anything of this forest. We could be walking in circles, and I would never notice it until it was too late. I hate the thought of it. I just want to get out of... Suddenly, my thoughts are silenced. We hear the footsteps of someone, something. Once more, the three of us become statues, awaiting the presence to go. I held my breath while feeling my heart beating anxiously. Damn! Get away from here and leave us alone! Unexpectedly, the steps I heard closer. This time, they did not disappear, but rather came at us. I can't stand it. Desperately, I move my flashlight everywhere, looking for another of those footsteps, hoping for the light to reveal their identity and erase our fears. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Is that all there is around here? Just empty air? My anxiety grows, With each failed attempt, I refused to believe that it was a ghost. Suddenly, when I move the flashlight again, I see a silhouette. I could not distinguish what it was, but for a moment the light revealed something. Quickly, I point to the same place only to discover it was gone. I held my breath anxiously. It was not an illusion. I am sure that I saw something. It was then that I hear something nearby. Without even thinking, I aim the light towards that place. What I found leaves us paralyzed with an expression of disbelief in our faces. It was a white cat with eyes of intense red, which stands before us. Here, look, is not the friendliest to say something. Her look is not the friendliest to say something. Sorry. Somehow, I get the feeling it's a female cat. Well, this took a turn. Suddenly, she lets out a thunderous meow that leaves us terrified. It sounded more like a lion roaring than a simple cat. The echo of her meow is heard throughout the forest, making it sound more sinister than it should be. It was then that suddenly an inexplicable force hits us three. Jesus. I fall to the ground, and little by little my eyelids close. The fatigue becomes unbearable. Fatigue? I lose consciousness on the ground of the forest without knowing what was going to happen with me. Interlude before night falls. It's a day like any other, so normal that it was almost painful. The only special thing that could be said about it is that it's October 31st. Far were the memories when I was a kid, and I went out with my friends to ask for sweets from house to house. Just remembering it made me sigh. I feel nostalgic. Some things were better when I was a child, or at least seems like that. There were some who had good customs, whether or superheroes or monsters. My friends and I, on the other hand, had a use of imagination. Creativity was our custom, you could say, no matter how funny it would sound. I remember that my mother once read my face and told me, "You will be the devil." That's fucking terrific. You know that? That's fucking terrific. But it seems only she saw it that way. When we went from home to home, everyone said I was Tomato Man. I was the tomato. But those things didn't matter to me since we always had a good time. If I asked for candy now, even if I had the best costume, I'm sure no one would give me anything. Except perhaps a scolding for acting like a child when I was a 17-year-old. But anyways, I can't stay in the past. I must live in the present, no matter how little exciting that might be. Back to reality. We are a group of friends who don't have any plans for today. We are still not old enough to go to a disco, and I doubt guys as us would have any luck in that environment. The other option would be to go to a party, meet girls, and have fun. Everything perfect, except that nobody has invited us. Not being popular has its disadvantages. I can't read, sorry. Hey Axel, let's have a couple matches. What do you say? My friend Steven called my attention while playing with a game console. Reshford, I believe. That's what the game is called. A fast and quite complicated fighting game for me. I would normally agree to play with him, but for some reason I don't feel in the mood today. I have no desire to play now. God, didn't have to say it so bluntly. I was like, sorry man, I don't feel like it today. But no, okay. I replied with a discouragement. I almost feel bad for doing it. Boring? The II is no rival for me. Stephen said with confidence. That you're playing on normal difficulty does not help your argument. I don't feel like losing, but if you want, you can challenge to Alfred. Alfred? Who the fuck is Alfred? I said, leading the attention to my other friend. Oh, that's his other friend. Cool. I don't know how to play that, answered Alfred doubtingly for a second. He is sitting behind the PC, but it seems that he isn't doing anything interesting. The screen only shows a lot of texts. I think he is in Wikipedia. Hey, don't you have something more fun to do? I asked with discouragement, without even thinking about what he was doing, what he was reading. Alfred looked at me surprised. The actual problem with society is that people are not interested in discovering their history. This went from haunted story to just everyday life. Jesus Christ. He is one of those socio-intellectual always looking for any rare information to appear smarter than others. When we forget our past mistakes, we are doomed to repeat them. Ain't that a shitfest? He added later. What are you talking about? This village is small, and its story is not interesting at all. Nothing outside of the normal has ever happened in it. Alfred laughs mockingly after hearing that. Your ignorance is worthy of praise. He pauses, filling his chest with pride. The very fact is that a small town is the reason it's full of mysteries. Did you know that 20 years ago, on this date, a man disappeared? You're not being very specific. This date, a man disappeared. This date with a man disappearing is very specific. There have been plenty of situations where a man disappears on a date. We all know that. And you know it too. Anyways. So, what about it? I asked without being impressed or even interested in the least. Things like that happen all the time in all places. As I thought, you don't know the history despite living in this very place, Alfred said while adjusting his glasses in an arrogant gesture. There's a legend behind the disappearance? That is what I was reading. After listening to him, I looked back at the computer screen with curiosity. It's then I noticed that it was not Wikipedia, but some other page. Come on, read this and learn a little, Alfred said, inviting us to read what was on the screen. Both Stephen and I moved closer to read it. Town of Abagon, Oxfordshire, country, 1994. I came to this town with only 400 inhabitants to support them in an investigation. Truth is that never in my life have I seen something this strange. I won't say your typical detective-ish nonsense that I've never seen. I have seen thousands of strange things in my life. I've seen many crimes, yes. Some different to solve, but all of them were human. Even if you don't know how they managed to perpetrate the crime, you know that they are people like anyone else. In this case, I don't think I'm able to say the same thing. Truth is that I can't understand what happened. I was called for the disappearance of a man named Matthew Graham, 23 years, single. The last time he was seen was returning home from a Halloween party. He had drunk alcohol but was still sober. He had drank alcohol but was still sober. I can't read, Jesus Christ. At least that's what witnesses said. Wait, you can't drink alcohol and really be sober. What are the witnesses even talking about? Anyways, this is not something which can be explained with a simple drunkenness. He apparently got lost on his way home and decided to enter the forest called Oakwood. Yeah, because entering a forest is always a good idea in these horror games. He rained yesterday, so the ground was wet and muddy. we could easily find his traces, which were leading deep inside the forest. Apparently, he walked for 3 hours before stopping. I say stop, but the truth is, we don't know what happened then. The track suddenly ended up in a clearing in the forest, and that's all. There was no evidence of struggle, no other trace, or pieces of clothing on the ground. It was just gone. There was no blood, no footprints, anything else. His last footprints and the position indicated that he was still walking. At no point he stood still. It was as if he had evaporated in the air, with all his clothes in the middle of the walk. Obviously, I can't believe such a thing, but I can't give another explanation. The only thing I remember is that near the footprints I sensed a faint smell of rot. However, there was no animal corpses nearby. It was ridiculous to think he suddenly started to decay and become earth. In the end of the case, we closed in just 3 days. With no evidence of any kind, we couldn't say anything but that he decided to escape from the village. However, while officially there was no more to do, I couldn't sleep in peace. Thinking about what could have happened to him took away my sleep. In my mind, I thought all sorts of theories. Like maybe everything was a plan developed by Matthew. But in the end, they all seemed impossible. I decided to investigate more into this issue. I searched the town for similar stories, and to my surprise I found 4 more. All young men. The story was always the same. They walked into the forest alone, disappearing without a trace. Even more curious is that all of them disappeared on the same date. October 31st. But there's more. A detail that completely eliminates the possibility that there is a killer or kidnapper behind this, and that is the separation of the years. Roger Beacon disappeared in 1924. Mitchell Smith disappeared 1867. Jason Black disappeared in 1813. And the worst of all, Oswald Taylor disappeared on 1707. What? That's during the Revolutionary War times. In America. Jesus, it simply couldn't be possible. My curiosity led me to dig deeper. I thought that the answer may be in the past of the forest, and when I discovered that what seemed to be a simple and boring forest actually hid a great story. Before it was called Oak Forest, the place was called Witchwood. The word witch has a huge similarity with witch, taking into consideration that it is an old name and language changed over time that indicates that it was the forest of witches. Apparently, more than 400 years ago, the people of the village believed witches lived in the woods. Unfortunately, almost all of the information is already lost. There are stories told in voice, without a properly written record. I just know that with the change of religion to Christian, people stopped seeing the witches with good eyes and began to hunt them. Apparently, the last one before her death cast a curse on the forest, which even today should continue to exist. Anyways, obviously I cannot accept something like that as an answer. In the end, I have no other choice than accepting that each of them escaped from the village, using the legend of the forest to make it look like it was something supernatural. Interesting story. I didn't know that such a story was hiding in this town. I said honestly surprised. Even if it is a lie, it managed to hold my interest. Wait, there's something more. Alfred said at At the same time, he scrolls to the comments. We read what they're written there. A couple of comments call our attention. Both of them talk about some creature. At the same time, they felt a horrible fear for what could happen to them. Well, the two comments share great similarities, but they could have been written by the same person. There are many others that deny it. Looks like many people went to the forest because of the legend, but couldn't find anything. I thought that you only read these things to look more cool before the girls, replied Stephen as a joke. Alfred giggles with a little shame. Partially, yes, he admitted it. That was a secret everybody silently knew. Well, now we have an activity for tonight. Stephen said at the same time. He makes a face overflowing with enthusiasm. What? I asked, completely lost. I thought we were just killing time. Simple. Let's go to the forest. Stephen replied without hesitation. He seemed really fascinated by the story. Are you insane? Said Alfred, unable to believe what he just heard. You only needed to look at his face to know he did not like the idea. Despite everything you've heard, you want to go? Of course. It would be a test of courage among us three, replied Stephen, full of confidence. Perhaps too much. He should relax a bit. Don't tell me you're afraid. No, why should I be afraid? Answered Alfred. At the same time, he folds his arms, making a false gesture of security. It's more than obvious you are afraid, Alfred. Almost as much as when you have to talk with a girl. And what about you, Axel? Don't tell me you won't come. Suddenly Stephen asked me, and at the time looking at me mockingly. Don't tell me you want to be the chicken of the group. I hate that tone of voice he used. I will never give you that. I said without thinking, showing the confident smile and look. Well, let's not say more. Take our coats, backpacks, flashlights, and some food. We are going to the forest. Stephen said, full of energy. Yeah! We three said in unison, as if we're going to have some kind of private party. Not really knowing what we were doing or what we were going to find. We'll leave it at that.